Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the barn. I got some more cleanup and setup work to do out here, so I thought I'd bring you along for that. I'm about to start working on the flooring and the kitchen stuff, so I have to get the flooring out from the racks back there, but I have all the stuff kind of in the way, so instead of shuffling stuff around, I might as well take care of this first before digging out all my flooring. I've also been cleaning up my shop a little bit. Having the barn gives me the space to, make this space more for storage and for, things that aren't actually being used at the time or at the current moment. So the Bridgeport has moved out here. This needs to get done and finished. So that's a project that will 100% happen when I'm done with the kitchen, because I miss having that machine so much. It's so handy and I miss it. The kitchen sink showed up, and my in-laws are on a trip, so the barn has become super premium covered airport parking. So I have their car in here too, but I got all the shelving in, and I want to start getting this all set up so it can actually be utilized and used, and I can feel a little more, a little more accomplished and have things a little more finalized. So I have a small pallet rack to go back there behind the packing desk there. I have another shelving unit similar to this one, a little bit narrower, which is going to replace this shelving unit here. I don't really care too much for this one. It's kind of flimsy. The shelf material is only 1/4 inch particle board, and this comes with 5/8, which is much more significant. The actual metal that makes the unit itself is more significant, and of course the cost is more significant, but at this point I just want nice things. Nice things that work. So this shelf will get replaced with one of these things, and I'll be able to store my inventory. Take them off these pallets here and put them more over there. That's closer towards the packing flow anyway. It'll be a little more organized, a little bit neater, but each SKU will take up more than one shelf, which is, I think, it'll be okay. I'm not too worried about that. I also got another unit, a little bit narrower, which I'll put down there up against this pallet rack, and that'll give me some space for, smaller doodads and things that are more garage-related stuff. That's kind of that zone down there. So that's what I'm going to be working on this morning, kind of getting organized, getting things set up, and answering some questions. You know the drill by now. So we're going to start with Annie's question, and I'm just going to focus on the first part of it. We'll talk about the videos and stuff later on in this video. And I'm going to answer this based more on the chair kit stuff, since that's kind of what I'm working on here at the moment. So over the last few years, as I've been working on the process of figuring out and streamlining the fulfillment side of this operation, I've been working and tweaking things as I go to essentially get this thing to a point where I can drop someone else in, and it'd be a fairly easy and quick onboarding process. I've really focused on standardizing where I can to make the process of fulfilling orders as streamlined as possible. And as I've been working through this the last few years, any mistakes that have come up or any issues that have kind of presented themselves, I have worked through and kind of come up with different solutions to improve the process and reduce the overall error rate. And one of the things I'm doing here is with the screws. So over the years, this has evolved, fairly incrementally. So I have 3 different sizes of screws, and I have definitely evolved the way I do this over the years. I started out just dumping all the screws into one big baggie, and then the recipients would have to kind of sort them out. I switched to separating them out into their own individual bags based on size after that. And at one point, I made the next improvement, which was I started color coding the bags for the screw sizes. I have 2 screws, the 2-inch and the 2.5s, that are both black, and they look very identical. They're almost the same length, and it's very easy to screw those up. So I have gone ahead and color coded everything so that I know exactly what's going into the package every single time. The change I'm making here is actually separating out the baggies based off the number of chairs that they go with. Previously, I would put all the baggies for each size screw in their own little box, and I had to kind of dig around through the box to find the baggie with the number of screws that I needed for the order. Now they're all here nicely in bins, and I can just grab exactly the number of screws for that order right off the rack. This also makes it nice and visual, so I know exactly what I have in stock, so to speak. So I know if I need to make more screw baggies, I'm missing a certain quantity, I can make a bunch of those and fill the bins. I also have the bigger bins now, so I can put the bulk screws in there, and I can have a nice visual reference of how many screws I still have in stock. And that also plays through to the way I have been storing inventory. I'm a very visual person, so having the inventory on pallets like I used to is a good visual indicator of how much stock I still have in each SKU. It's very obvious to me, like when a pallet starts to get empty looking, I'm probably running out. And that's gonna play through now with the inventory on the shelves. Same kind of thing, a nice visual indicator of how much stock is there. If I need to count and take inventory, it's actually a little bit easier now that they're on the shelves than they were when they're on the pallets, because things are more at eye level versus down on the floor. Now, as far as knowing how many units I actually have in stock and when I need to reorder, my website actually handles a lot of that for me. It's gonna manage that inventory, and it's going to, basically it'll manage it. It'll deduct from my inventory count whenever an order is placed, and also send me alerts as inventory starts to get down to the threshold I specified. But that's the general gist of how things kind of play through with the chair kits and my strategy there. Having packed, I'm getting close to 2,000 chairs now, I have experienced hopefully every possible issue and have sort of resolved things along the way. So the biggest takeaway is that as I've been working over the last few years, I have been establishing and documenting the business processes and procedures to do all these things. It's of course going to be a lot easier and a lot less stressful to establish those things now while the business is still being established than when it is suddenly scaling and you end up chasing your tail trying to document all these processes and trying to establish standardization, sort of after the fact. It's going to be a lot easier to onboard and scale this business if these processes are already really well streamlined, really well established, and really well documented. It's kind of funny, like when you first start something like this, if you haven't launched a product before, it's like, well, how hard could it be? How many things could there be to think about? There is so much nuance and so much little details and things that you don't know until you get into it. It's like the old adage, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, that holds up here for sure. I had no idea what I was getting into, and as I have worked through this over the years, things have definitely changed, and I've modified my processes as I went with the intention of this being a scalable thing in the future. And this is actually one of the funnier memories for me as I got into this during the original pre-order. I was like, I sold all these chairs. That's great. How do I get them to people? And that started the whole process of like, oh crap, now I actually have to figure out how to get these things into boxes. How do I protect them in shipment? How big a box do I need? How much is shipping gonna cost? How do I pack these things in a logical way, in the most efficient way, in the way that actually gets to the customer without being damaged, and being able to do that repeatedly in a quick way so I don't spend the rest of my life packing pre-orders. That was a fun little learning experience for me, but I think I have come quite a bit of a ways since then, packing these chairs in my backyard and pulling out all the packing stuff every time I did a packing session. Nothing was set up, everything was put away in the house and then dragged outside where I had room to work. So thanks, Andy, for that question. I will answer the rest of it later on in the video. Compared to setting up all the other normal size racks, this 24-inch deep rack is kind of a joke. It's incredibly much more easy than the physical challenge of setting up a normal size giant rack. In case everyone's wondering why I went with a small rack for back here versus buying another one of these type units. These racks, you can go taller, so this is a 12-foot tall rack, and you can also go wider spans. So I got 9-foot beams in here, and it's the same teardrop setup as the rest of all of my racking in here. So if I wanted to make this wider, I can swap these with 10s or 12s, or I can make it smaller and put 8s. So it's modular and interchangeable. So nothing really to do with capacity at all. So next I'm going to do this, get this guy out of here, get the new one installed. This kind of feels like I'm working backwards now because things are exploding out again before they can go back to normal or being organized. This question is from Randy. Thank you for the question, Randy. Randy wants to know if I'll be storing boules in the barn or just drier lumber. So the barn and the lumber storage is, at least right now, planned to exist the same way as it did with the warehouse space, as just a staging area between lumber being dried and then lumber being shipped off or picked up by the buyers. So previously, or at least previous to this past fall, how I would operate that is I would pre-sale slabs or lumber to customers based off the videos, and I would do a reservation basis type thing. Once I had enough reservations, I would pull all of those orders. I'd go through the stacks and pull the particular slabs that were sold and take that entire load to be dried. My friend Eric had some openings in his kiln schedule this past fall, so I hauled basically everything you see in the barn to be dried this past fall. And essentially what I did was any boule that I had that had at least one slab sold in it, I just took the entire boule and didn't bother breaking it down by the slab that was sold. So I still have to go through the stacks I have in here, pull out the slabs that are sold, and then work through actively selling the rest of the slabs in here. But that's why I was kind of laughing, I think in the last episode when I was like, there's too much wood in here. There's more wood in here than there should be. That's because I dried all that stuff with the intention of working through it kind of as we get into the spring here, as my schedule starts to free up. But that's the plan for this space, just a staging area or a holding area for lumber that has been dried that needs to go out to their respective buyers. This question is from Danette. I'm guessing your lean-to roof project might be a summer project because it might be a good place to store the telehandler and your skid steer to free up space in the barn. The lean-to, it's a nice place I can store things to get them out of the weather, but the biggest reason for the telehandler being in the barn is the winter season. So last year was my first winter with a telehandler, and that thing has absolutely no desire to start in the winter. It will start down to about freezing, and then below that you need to plug the block heater in. The block heater will allow it to start down to about 20 degrees, but below that you can spend your entire day trying to get the thing to start and it won't go. So last year that machine sat parked for about 3 or 4 months through the whole winter because it was absolutely useless. So having the heated space for at least the telehandler allows me to actually use it in the winter, which is super nice. You know, it doesn't necessarily need to be parked against the wall there. It's just a nice spot for it now while I have the space, but it could be parked, you know, in the middle of the doorway opening when it's not being used or something. That's also an option. But at least in the summer, it doesn't necessarily have to be in here. It is quite nice to have it out of the elements and out of the weather. So if I do have the lean-to constructed and have that covered space for it, that'll probably be its spring, summer, and fall home. And then for the 3 or 4 months out of the year where it's too cold, it can live in the barn on a temporary basis. So it holds true for this one as well. A smaller unit, much easier and less physically intensive to assemble, which is cool. So I'm gonna give these a little bit of time to just dry a little more before I go putting stuff on them. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go set up the other one like this down there. So I'm gonna leave those last two shelves out for now until I get things out here and I know what my spacings need to be. This kind of area up here, I'm kind of figuring will be overflow from the shop. So things that don't need to be in the shop, but I can, quickly grab if I need to and go back out and blah, blah. That's what all this vertical space is gonna be for. Things from the shop that I don't need to have in there all the time. Okay, back here again. Let's start moving some inventory and filling up this shelf here. So empty. So Sam wants to know about having multiple sets of tools because of the two different locations, or the way to just carry things back and forth. So right now I am mostly carrying things back and forth as needed. It's a little different now because I'm doing a lot of setup stuff. So the variety of tools seems to be very diverse. But once things are kind of established, the actual working tools, the tools you need to do work out here, not particularly great. But probably what I'll end up doing, since I seem to be actually using the space to work a lot more than obviously I would have at the warehouse, I will probably just end up having a second set of the basic tools, ratchets and sockets and wrenches and pliers and snips and things, just so I have them out here, because it is getting kind of annoying to have to stop what I'm doing to walk all the way back to the shop because I forgot one little thing. And actually, it's not really the tools that has been the most annoying to me, it is all the camera stuff. So at least at the warehouse, I didn't film there very often, so I didn't really have this problem too much. But now that I'm doing these type of videos in this space, hauling all my camera stuff up here all the time is obnoxious. It's getting old real fast. And the cameras are one thing, but like all of the camera stuff is in the shop. So if I'm out here and the battery on my camera goes dead, I'm now walking back to get a battery or a memory card or whatever little doodad thing that I might need. So it's a bit more annoying than I'd like. So this actually brings me to a question that no one asked in this last video, but I've been asked quite a bit in the past, and that is, why the heck do I have a sawmill in my driveway when I have all this space? And the answer to that is, that's where the infrastructure is. So there's quite a bit to unpack there. So first off, that is the only paved surface on this property like that, besides the inside of this barn, which I don't have any plans on putting a sawmill in here because that is super messy and I'd rather just do that outside. So that nice paved space allows for a nice stable base for the sawmill that allows for a nice solid base for me to drive the machines on, not be turned into a mud pit when I'm splashing water around, and it makes for really easy cleanup because you can just literally sweep up or scoop up any sawdust or bark or chips or piece of wood that might land on the ground. Another piece of infrastructure there is electricity. Since my mill is an electric powered mill, it's got to be near some electrical outlet, and it just happens that my shop has the power for that thing. It's also nice and close to a water supply. It's within one hose length of the spigot on the house, so I can easily fill up my wheelbarrow. Oh wait, did I just say that out loud? I filled a wheelbarrow with a hose right there off camera? Oops. But now I'm back to the camera stuff, and that is the biggest piece of infrastructure that I use for the sawmill. All of my camera equipment, every little tripod and camera mount and battery, is all right there in the shop with all the other camera stuff. So that's one of the biggest reasons why that's probably gonna stay there for an extended period of time, because all my stuff is right there. My desk is right there, so sometimes I might want to pull footage from the camera in that moment so I can review footage if I need to, or if I wanted to post something on social media in that moment, I can quickly put together an edit of whatever I want to do and post that then and there. My desk is literally right there. So things are starting to open back up again, and I thought I would show one thing real quick. So a lot of people have been commenting about potentially hitting the mast on the trusses and all of that. And that is certainly a concern, so I do pay quite a bit of attention as I get the mast up a bit. But let me show you one thing I did to make that a little bit more easy, foolproof or whatever. So I have this link here marked with a paint marker, so if this point gets to the top of this ram, that is the absolute maximum height I can go before the carriage can no longer clear the trusses. So still a ways to go, but this is so much better. Like, it just feels more organized and like systematic, which is really nice. I did kind of lose having the bulk storage for supplies at like eye level, but I think what I'll do is I'll have like a few kind of out around the packing area, the things I need frequently, like, you know, a few rolls of tape, kind of chilling wherever. And then if I really need more, if I run out of what's kind of nearby, then I can get from the bulk area. Same kind of thing over here. The boxes still need a little more finagling to be arranged, but there's a few of each kind of box that I use down here. When I run out of those, I have a full bale up here on these racks. If I run out of those, that big pile up there is more full bundles of those kind of boxes. I buy boxes, I buy like enough boxes to last me 12 to 18 months at a time. It's cheaper to buy in bulk, and if I only pay freight once like this, so I inventory quite a few boxes. But having a system to keep things kind of organized definitely is good. This still needs some work. I got to work on that. But I'm back to having like open access space. I have my my overflow kind of area over here for, I don't know, garagey type stuff, things that I might need over here or might need in the shop quick. Like one thing I have is all the packaging for some of the Triton products. If I need to do any promotions for them, it's nice to have the actual packaging. And, you know, I can't get rid of this one because they got this great model on the box now. So this is kind of where I want it to be at, so I can get that flooring pulled out of here and move along. So I'm going to pull this stack out of the way, and then we'll play a little game. So we're going to hop back to that first question again, and let's see if I can do this. So we're going to go through all of these. So we already talked about, where I showed this one already, there is a slab of ash up there. That was the second time I used my first log trailer. The first time I used it, I sheared the ramp mounts off the back of it. The second time I reinforced the pivot points and picked up a couple of ash logs and chainsaw milled them. That is one of the pieces from the base of the tree. Beneath those, we have the smaller maple crotch from that was the first log ever cut on the sawmill, or big logs on this saw here. I also have the other large maple log that was number 5 of the big logs that I cut on that saw. Beneath all of that is the leftovers of the Robbinsdale maple. That was when Jay came out with his drone, and we got some drone photography of the saw for the first time. This one right here, this is one of the 2 logs from testing bimetal blades against embedded steel. So that's white oak. This is the honey locust log right here. Everything beneath here is from the first batch of workbench kits. I think that was episode 2 of the first batch, where I cut up all the scraps into some, was it 5/4, and then a couple slabs up top of here. In behind here, we have the 3 remaining slabs from the pecan log that Phil brought, and we milled up, I think, 7 slabs that he took home with him. These are the 3 that were left when he left the log. Beneath it here is red oak. This is the last time using the sawmill where I built it. This is one of the logs that I retrieved from a whole tree that I picked up, and I think that was the last time I used my original log trailer. Of course, that is the flooring. These are some leftover pieces of workbench kits. I believe this is the first batch, leftovers from that. Up top there we have white oak. This was the upper section of the first time using the new trailer. And then above that, that is Donovan's tree. So that was a Slavin big elm with a chainsaw and a bandsaw. So we kind of saw a comparison of using a chainsaw mill and a bandsaw mill to cut a whole log. Come over here, we have giant maple log with embedded bird feeder. This is elm. This log came apart on me on my sawmill or something like that for the title. We got giant walnut log from Ohio and a couple more slabs of Donovan's tree there. Those guys right there, sawing a walnut log into 37 thin slices. That is like the first bits of the slab skins idea. Some more extra pieces of workbench kits up top. If you look really close, there is a 4-inch thick slab up there that is sawing a spalted silver maple with embedded steel, brass, copper, and whatever. So that is 1 slab left from that log. This is batch 2 of workbench kits. Oh, this is Jeff's smaller walnut log from Ohio. Silver maple with a hole. The smaller ash log, that was the second log, or second big log cut on the sawmill. We got a red oak log down here. That was sawing a big red oak log with my dad. That was over Thanksgiving several years ago. And I walked right past this stack here. Bottom here, this is the bigger ash log from the original big logs on the sawmill. And then lastly, we got the second of the white oak from testing bimetal blades against embedded steel. And then actually up here, these are the pieces of dunnage that I sawed out of the offcuts from the second batch of workbench kits. So I don't know necessarily what it is, but I have no problem remembering literally everything I've ever cut. That's probably because I lived the day, and if I wasn't the editor on that project, I at least relived the day reviewing the edit. But if I was the editor on the video, which most of these ones I was the editor, I lived the day, I relived 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 the day, and then that's it. So maybe because I have to go back and review all the footage, it really like solidifies the memory of all of these logs and all their stories in my mind, because I don't have much of an issue remembering literally everything in here and literally everything that's still outside. So now I can pull this thing out, the only thing I actually needed before going on this multiple day tangent to get to this point, and I will shuffle things around a little bit and get rid of this stack. This stack here can go where that one currently is. So I want to show you this real quick. This is the single slab workbench top that I cut as an experiment to see if it would be stable enough. So this is a plain sawn cut, and the pith I think would have been maybe up in here somewhere, so it's kind of above or below the pith. It has been sitting here dried out of the kiln now for a little over a year. Hasn't really moved at all. at all, which is super reassuring. So this will be something that I'll be able to offer in the future. And a lot of people have been asking to see a workbench actually made with the kits. So this one, I'll turn into a workbench, and we'll do a video on making a workbench out of this guy someday. I got other things going on, but that'll be a fun little side project. So I thought this was going to fit, but these guys here are a little bit too long to go into here, so we'll do a little more shuffling around and hopefully get all this stuff to fit somewhere. Okay, a little rearranging and we are all set and done. I just have this little pallet here, which is kind of still in the way, but this one can go underneath the surfacer as well. It's kind of a nice thing with this is you have the space to put a couple of small stacks underneath it, which is nice. But next for me at least, this is where the intro for the next flooring video will start. So I'm actually going to roll into flooring, and then I'll see you out here probably in a few days or something. I still have a bunch of little things to do that I want to share with you and all of that, but a little behind the scenes. That's everything that it took to get to the start of that video. All right, so welcome to my desk. This is maybe a little bit of a peek behind the curtain to further sum up and answer Annie's question about the storage and organization of video. So if we hop in here, this directory here, this is all of the footage that I have ever shot. It's all here, and I have it all cataloged mostly chronologically. So back when I started my channel, I kind of centered it around my shop updates. So I would organize all my footage by week. That way, when I was editing my shop update for that week, if I was talking about something I was working on that week, I would have the entire folder of everything I shot that week to be able to pull clips in and do little cutaways of what I'm talking about on screen. So if we want to see what I was doing, let's say this week here, the last week of October 2015, I was making the jig to do the spindles for the crib, and then looks like I was shooting a video on the blue spruce tools for Highland woodworking, and that was 8 years ago. So that's how I kind of organized things back when I was doing the shop updates. Nowadays, I just do a category here by month, and that's gonna be the first time I start a project. So if we go into this folder here for January of 2023, these are the projects that I started filming in that month. So the start point of that first filming of that first footage will kind of indicate or dictify what folder it's going to go into. So these are all the videos that I started shooting in January. Now, if I want to go back and I want to look at actual edits that I did back in the day, I can go into this folder here. This contains all the project files and every additional asset that's not a piece of raw video for that actual video or that project. So if I, let's see, want to see every single video I ever did using the band sawmill, this is every single log I've ever sawn, including all the videos of actually making the sawmill itself. And the way they have this set up with all the footage and all of the original assets and the project files and everything is that I can go back at any point and pull up my exact project as it was, and it is exactly the way I left it. So if I wanted to go back in here and I want to look at my edit for the saw blade guides for making the sawmill, and there we go. So there is the original project file. I have all the footage there on the timeline as if I was just editing it. You know, for whatever reason, if I wanted to make a new version of this and make this little clip here longer of me drilling this hole, you know, I can do that just like if I had never, you know, left this alone or or anything. Most of the time, if I'm going to pull footage into a new project where I'm like doing a flashback, I'll pull the entire sequence or the entire project into the other project so I can see the whole timeline. I find this view a lot easier than trying to scrub through a completed exported video because I have all the cuts that I can visually see. I'm just more of a visual person. Steel made in 2016. So that's how I organize all of the video files and all the project files for every video I have ever done. And in that editing folder there with all the projects, there's like 900 video projects, whatever you want to call them, 900 edits. It's well, we've been doing this for now, 9 years. So it's 100 videos a year. It adds up pretty quick. So I'll see you in a few days back out in the barn to take care of a few small things. Good morning, everyone. I'm back out here today. I thought I'd answer a question real quick before we get into it. So one of the questions I've been getting is about banding on the Boules, because I didn't really do this that often at the old house, but now people are noticing I'm doing it kind of all the time. And it's sort of for the drawing process. It does help to keep things compressed and flat, especially the top slabs, which don't have a lot of weight on them. But it actually serves one more kind of useful and important feature for me, and that is sometimes the forklift driver around here gets a little wild and spills a whole stack. So if that was banded, it would just be a whole stack on the ground and not a messed up stack that now has to be restacked and everything. So I've been putting this off for a little bit. I think this morning I'm gonna pull these now 2 piles inside, let them warm up a little bit, melt some of that snow off, make them a little less slippery, and I can actually fix the stack inside. Okay, let's dump all the hot air out. It's so cold today. Steam. So that's most of the slabs from that stack. The rest of them are still out there. I think I'll just start with these. Let those thaw out for probably all day. Let's take care of some small stuff. So those will probably end up moving at some point, or maybe they'll stay there. Who knows, as things change and progress, but at least I have them in here now. That makes me feel a little better. I got the little one here for the forklift, and the forklift has these mounting holes behind these little plug things, so you can mount a fire extinguisher bracket on there. These, I'm pretty sure this is an M6. A Core 20 will engage, but won't really go in that far. So that's probably metric, which means I don't have any fasteners because this is America. So I'll have to go and pick up some bolts or whatever for that thing at some point. That's been on the to-do list since I got the forklift 2.5 years ago. So at least I'm a little closer to having a fire extinguisher on that vehicle, which feels good. And now, speaking of things that have been on the to-do list for a while, I'm going to take care of this thing next. This compressor. So for about a year or so, this thing has been extremely loud and noisy and not able to fill up quickly or stay full, I guess. It took like a crazy amount of time to go from like 80 to like 100 PSI or something. And I finally took it apart because it's here and not at my warehouse where I'm like, let me quickly use this and then leave. And I can tell why. So this O-ring, the seal, which is supposed to look like that and fit nicely down in there, is completely gone and destroyed. So that's why this one couldn't keep up and was extremely loud. So replacement O-ring seals and replacement seals for the top. I figure while I have this thing apart, I might as well just replace all the seals. You know, why the heck not? So that's a nice feeling to have that taken care of. This thing was about as loud as like a little tiny pancake compressor, and it wasn't very efficient, but it was working. So I never bothered to fix it. So at least that's checked off the list. I also went out and picked up some M6 hardware here. This is how you get metric bolts here in America. You go to the hardware store and you buy them individually. That's $1.20 a piece. And these are the shortest ones they had because all the other ones were sold out. And they only had 2 of these. But M6 is the right size. So I can get this checked off my list too now. Man, what a productive day. Done. Another side project many years in the making. Onto the next little small thing. We have a small hole to plug in the building. Let me do this real quick. Another thing that would have taken no time to do before, but here we are. Okay, last little things are going to be around this hardware station. So the first thing I need is I think a better way of doing corner blocks. So I order these blocks by about 1,000 at a time, or 500 of each style of block. There's 2 different angled blocks that I have. So a barrel is about 500 blocks. And the barrels are great when they're full because like the blocks are right at like a nice picking height. But as they get more and more empty, you have to reach down to the barrel to the point where it becomes incredibly awkward and uncomfortable to do that. So normally I have my kids get in the barrel and pull blocks out. My last order of blocks came in these tote things, which are quite a bit smaller and easier to get at, but you will have to kind of bend over on them. So what I'm thinking, at least make things a little bit easier, a little more organized, is to stick those barrels or those buckets down there, at least for now. And maybe I'll put some maybe some kind of roller thing on the bottom so you can pull them in and out, slide them in and out just like it did with the seats. But either way, the small thing I have to do is just pull off this footrest here on the desk, and that'll be another small thing checked off the list. So I think that's just generally going to be better. It utilizes the floor space under the desk, so it kind of frees up a little floor space that these barrels would otherwise occupy. Next on the list is a little film shelf thing. That is way too high. In the previous iteration, I had this holder thing on this shelf accessible from this side, and that was a pretty good height. So I think I'm going to drop this down, and I'm going to chop these arms back so they don't poke me in the face. I kind of only hesitate on doing this in case I wanted to like use those arms and put an actual shelf like above the desk or something. But if I need to do that, I know a guy with a welder, and he could probably make some new brackets or weld these back together or something. So I'm just going to drop that down and chop those brackets, and then that'll be another small thing off the list. Much better. Yeah, that's better. So all small incremental changes, but quite a bit nicer than just a little while ago. The only other kind of small thing I still have planned for this desk area here is to replace these leveling feet with casters, so that if I need to get my forklift in here and get at these racks, I can push this in and get some more space. I have to pick this desk up and see what size stem I need for those casters, but you know, projects for another day. So at least the packing area has gotten quite a bit better, and actually overall I think I'm pretty happy with where things are kind of sitting out here in the barn area. We got a lot more kind of open space, a lot more freedom to kind of get things done out here, and that makes me pretty happy. I'm quite thrilled about that. That stack of slabs is almost back together. I have to bring the top section in here and get that added to the stack, but another thing off the to-do list. So that's going to do it for the barn for this time. The next time we're out here, we'll be putting together this thing. This is the dust collection for out here. So this is the Clearview EF5. So their blue metal cyclone. So we'll be putting this together and mounting it to the left of the garage door there. Up there somewheres. Oh my goodness, it's come a long way. This used to be an absolute mess, and over the next few months or so, as things start to get moved out, like especially this rack, as that starts to get kind of worked down, I'll have some more space and some more freedom to kind of organize and get things further set up, because there's way more wood in here than there should be, or at least than there typically would be into the future. So I think that's going to do it for this one. Thank you, as always, for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on the barn thing, or anything back in the shop or whatever, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer your questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.